Hey y'all, welcome back to Krista's Kitchen. Today we're going to make a French toast bake. So with Christmas coming up, we're all going to want to get up and spend time with our children and our family, and most of us don't want to spend that time in the kitchen. So we're going to make this tonight and it'll be ready to go straight into the oven tomorrow morning, and it'll be perfect. So you get those warm sugary smells while everybody's opening presents, and at the same time you don't have to worry about putting something together, and it is very delicious. So again, we're doing French toast bake, and we're going to go ahead and get it started with half of a cup of melted butter. So just 1 stick of butter and a cup of brown sugar. Now for the bread, I am using a buttermilk bread, but you can use Texas toast, sourdough, really any kind of sturdy bread. Texas toast would work out really well. You could even probably use just regular white bread. It's just not going to give you the same thickness. So we have 1 cup of brown sugar. Now this is going in the bottom of our pan, but it's actually going to end up being the top of our French toast bake. Now if you don't want to flip this over, you don't have to, but the glaze will just be on the bottom instead of on the top. So as simple as that for the base. I'm just going to pour this straight in. And you want to use a 9x13 pan or 2 small circle pie pans. Now because I don't want to make more dishes, that's why I'm using this big old bowl. I'm going to mix my eggs and everything in here in just a second. And it won't hurt anything for it all to go in the same bowl. Just get this all spread around everywhere. So we're going to crack 4 eggs down into our bowl. Move this back out of the way. And then we're going to put in just a little bit of powdered sugar just to kind of sweeten this up just a little bit, as if it needs any more extra sugar. This is what we'll put on the top after this all comes out tomorrow as well. So usually just do vanilla, but I want to do some almond in this also. So you can get maybe about a teaspoon, probably about a half a teaspoon of vanilla, since I'm using 2 different flavors, but if you're just using vanilla, just do a full teaspoon. There we go. I love almond extract, especially almond cookies. So we're just going to break those eggs up and get those mixed around. So while that sits there for a second, we're going to mix in or add in our bread to our pan. Let it start soaking up some of that butter. We're going to make 2 or 3 layers with this. Now the more layers you use, the more custard you'll need. And you can cut the edges off if you don't like the edges. That's not a big deal. I'll be tearing it to fill in those spots anyway, because they won't fit side by side. So I'm going to sprinkle them with a little bit of cinnamon and sugar. And then we're going to pour in about 1.5 cups of whole milk into our eggs. To make our custard. Here we go. So we're going to use our measuring scoop to just ladle this over, and we just are going to ladle a little bit over the top of each piece of bread. This is the reason you want to let it sit at least a couple of hours, but preferably overnight, to get all of these juices soaked in. You'll see I'm kind of staggering them back and forth on which piece is whole and which is broken. So a little bit of cinnamon sugar. And our custard mix. We're just going to keep on going until we run out of custard mixture. Last step for tonight is just a little bit more cinnamon sugar. This is just to give it some pretty color, and it'll help that sugar kind of crystallize and give a crusty piece to it. So I'm going to just push this down in here. Make sure all of that bread is getting nice and soaked with the custard. Alright, y'all, so we're going to wrap this up. It's going to go in the fridge until tomorrow morning, and we will see y'all back then. Hey y'all, so obviously it's the next day. Our French toast bake sat in the fridge, covered overnight, and early this morning just got up, turned the oven to 350 and popped it in. Now you do want to pull your French toast out of the fridge a little bit before it goes in the oven, so that your pan comes up to temperature. You don't want your pan cracking, going from the cold to the heat super quick, because your pan can break. Most of the time you should be fine, but it's not worth taking the risk. So just pull it out of the fridge, put it in the oven for about 30 minutes covered, and then the last 10 to 15 minutes just pulled the foil off and covered, baked it uncovered. Now the last 2 to 3 minutes I turned the oven off and put it to broil, and just to crisp up that bottom side. Well, it's the top side when it's in the oven, but crisp the top side. When it came out, flipped it over to the pan. I did have trouble this morning. When I flipped it over, I realized that I had not sprayed my pan yesterday. So spray your pan, and that way you're less chance of sticking. But whenever I flipped it, it kind of stuck to the bottom. There's a lot of sugar and everything in the bottom of it anyway, so it could stick anyway. But this is what we have, our French toast bake, and I'm going to cut it and show y'all how it looks. So I just like this little thing because I can get super easy little lines through. And as far as the broiling part goes, you can skip that broiler. It just makes an extra little crispy layer. It's also easiest if you cut this right after it comes out of the oven, because as you see, it's breaking apart. That sugar area has already started hardening again, so it's going to crack and create like a crack texture on the top, which still is very yummy. You just, it doesn't give you those pretty slices like you might think. You see, we just serve ours with either some sausage or some bacon, but we're going to take out a little bit and show y'all what it looks like on the inside. So you see our pretty little layers. We've got our cinnamon sugar layers that we did in there as well. And I just sprinkled the top with some powdered sugar. You can give it a little bit more if you like, make it more festive. And you can skip the syrup if you like, or just a little bit of syrup on it. Now this is still pretty hot, so, but all the pretty layers. And if you cut the crust off and you don't like the crust, you'll get much more even pieces, like if you'll smush them all together. But it still eats the same, and this is so much faster and easier. But hopefully you'll give this a try. Maybe this can be your Christmas morning breakfast. But thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.